Okay, welcome to another top list by DiceTillDawn. And I've been doing many positive videos lately of my favorite games and all these things, and I wanted to bring you a bit different perspective, I guess, so that it isn't all high praise for everything. And I'm talking today about my top 5 dislikes in gaming or in games. These can be mechanics or things that the games have, and you will see them as I go by the list. And these are of course in the order that 5 is the least annoying and 1 is the most annoying thing. And I have one example of each of these here with me, so I can exemplify it to you better. But keep in mind, this doesn't mean that these games are bad. There's actually 2 games from my top 50 list here, so that doesn't make them bad per se, but they have something that I don't like about it. So let's start with number 5, and that's a runaway leader in a long game. So I don't mind if you play like Bang the Dice game and one player has all the health and everyone else has 1. It doesn't matter because the game is 15-20 minutes and you can just try again. But if it's a long game, it can get pretty annoying. And one example I have is Lewis and Clark. And this is one of my favorite games, and I really like it, especially solo or 2-player. 3-player is pretty much the max I would like to play. But sadly, this has a pretty big problem with the runaway leader, especially when one player is more experienced than the others. It can get very annoying for the players because the leader isn't having fun or has to play suboptimally, or he's going to crush the others, and this even escalates the problem. And it can be annoying because at four players this can easily be 3 hours or even more, especially when players are new. So that's one big problem with this game, and there are probably some others. I couldn't think of one from the top of my head now, but that is one bad thing about Lewis and Clark. And again, a runaway leader in a long game, my number 5. Okay, my number 4 is actually a fiddly setup, or shall I say expansions. Yeah, I really like expansions, don't get me wrong, and I buy a lot of them, and many of them have really enriched the experience of many games. But I have noticed, and I think I'm not the only one, let me know, that the more expansions I have to a game, or even one expansion at some games, actually makes me play them a lot less, especially with the expansion. And there are reasons for that, I will go into them soon, but yeah, so it's fiddly setup or expansions, my number 4. And my number 4 game I would like to exemplify this is actually even more of my favorite game than Lewis and Clark, and that is 7 Wonders. Even the base game has a fiddly setup, I think, a bit. It's not too bad, but you have to divide the cards by the number of players and make the decks and then shuffle them and then do the basic setups. Okay, you can divide that for the players and it's not too bad. But when you start adding the expansions, it gets pretty annoying. First of all, if you have new players, you don't want to use them, so you have to take out the cards that you might have used, or maybe choose which cards you are going to use and which aren't. And again, just always when I play this, if there's a new player, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to play it now because there's the leaders and there's cities, but that player hasn't played any of them, so I want to play the base game. But still I have to see which deck I use and which cards I use, and the rules themselves from the expansions are like, how did that go, because I didn't play it in a long time. And all these things the expansions usually give to a game. The other examples I would think are Among the Stars. You have to actually choose the cards you use in the game every time. I've actually done just a preferred setup and discarded all the rest of the cards and put several rubber bands on them so that I always know that this is the deck I don't want to use. And it's a shame because there are cool cards there too, but I really don't want to go through the thing. But again, even that is a problem if I have an uneven number of players, so I have to change the setup even then, and it's just annoying. But yeah, fiddly setup and expansions is my number 4. Okay, so number 3 is actually too much luck. or roll and move. And the perfect example of this, I don't even know why I still have this game, I really need to get rid of it, but that's Monopoly. And yeah, I've actually played this last year once again, and again noticed how awful game it is when you played some better games. And well, it's all dusty already, but that's a good thing, I guess. But roll and move for starters, especially in a game that the roll is actually or actually the only thing that matters is the roll. So in a game like that, it's just so frustrating. You don't, of course, the luck balances out a bit, but you don't really need even just one hit on a boardwalk or something like that with a household, and your game is there and there. But if no one else hits it, and maybe the owner is in trouble or stuff like that. So it's just so last year, I guess. And all in all, other luck games are not really my favorites either. But it might be okay if they are short games, so that doesn't really matter, like No Thanks or stuff like that, even though it still has more than luck to it, but still. And Yahtzee, I kind of like Yahtzee, just beating your high score, even though it's almost luck also. But yeah, number 3, too much luck or roll and move. Okay, so number 2 is too complex for what it offers, and this can be many things. It can be fiddly rules or some upkeep things you always have to remember to do and they are unclearly stated, or maybe like the rules to miss something you easily miss. And the perfect example of this I came up with is actually Smash Up. Again, a game I'm not really a huge fan of. When I saw the tabletop of this and all, I was like, that must be one of the best games ever, and I knew I would love it. But, well, what do you know? I really don't like it at all. I'm actually thinking of selling it, actually. It's a cool idea, and I really like the aspects and all the factions and the card abilities themselves, but it's a lot of work for a very simple game. What I was looking for this was exactly that. Take 2 decks and shuffle them together and then just bam kick each other's ass. But with this it's just extremely excruciatingly fiddly. For example, the bases. When you are at like now if I kill that one and I put this one there, you have to subtract 5, add 2, but this one gives a power of +1 to each of these, but this one now subtracts 1 for each of these, and now we are at 30, no, we are at 17, and all these things are so much work for just a few cards played per turn. And it's just weird, because I really wanted to like the game, and I really was interested in the genre and everything, and I used a D20s as the base, things that helps a bit, but still it's a constant calculation of what is going on everywhere. And the card abilities, there's so many ongoing things and everything that it's almost impossible to keep track of it. And you don't even want to try this with 4 players, it gets so out of hand. And 2 players is only also very boring, because usually there's little competition anywhere. It's just who gets the better card first and wins it. It's best at 3, but still it starts to get long and fiddly and just way too much work for what it offers. So other games of this type, which are good games but suffer from this a bit, are Arkham Horror, obviously, but I've learned to give into that because the game offers such a rich story and experience, and we don't usually want to play every rule to an exact anymore nowadays. We just, if we feel like we don't find the exact rule, we just make up something fun and go on with it, and that's always fun. And another one is perhaps Robinson Crusoe. It has a lot of moving parts. The game is again brilliant and I love it, but again it has a lot of moving parts and things to remember and effects at the beginning and end of the night and all these things. So those are other games that I'm thinking of here. But yeah, so that was my number 2. Too complex for what it offers. And number 1 is. I'm more of a Eurogamer, so this is not a surprise for those folks that know me, I guess, but I don't really like direct in-your-face conflict in a long game. Don't get me wrong, I really like Magic the Gathering, Twilight Struggle, all these things that are just about hitting the other player or like beating the other player. But if it's a long build game, actually forgot to mention the build part there, so if it's a long build game and there's a chance that you can be actually hit very hard by one player, that's just out in my picture. And I had a few examples of this, and one of them is actually Through the Ages and the military here, because this is a long game, especially with more players, very long, and you are building this cool civilization. I do like the game, but in this it's actually possible to, you can't go science all the way or stuff like that, because if the other guy has stronger military than you, he can actually bomb you to Stone Age and pretty much take you out of the game, and you've just been playing it for 3 hours, 4 hours, maybe 5 hours, and now you're out of the game just because of this one war guy. Okay, yeah, it's thematic and it makes sense, and I'm not saying that, but I just don't like it. So, okay, my lamp is killing me. But yeah, so another example of this was Twilight Imperium 3rd edition. I have that, I didn't really like that one either, but yeah, that's what it is. I just don't like it that I built something and had a big plan from the start, and my engine is working and it's my cool civilization, and then one player just destroys all of that almost in one turn. So that's pretty annoying. But yeah, my number one, direct conflict in a long build game. But yeah, give me, what are your dislikes in games? And yeah, as I said, most of these games I do really like, and even though these things aren't things that I hate in games in general, I guess, but these are things that I'm aware of, and if I see too many of them in one game, I usually don't like that game, so I guess in that sense I don't like them too much. But yeah, that was my list, and in the comments give me your list if you have some ideas, and see you next time. Bye.